Good morning. It's wonderful to see all of you today. The agenda says that I'm going to talk about how the Aging in Place Business Roundtable can shape our future. And not only am I going to tell you some ways that you can help do that, but we're also going to do an exercise while you're here to gather input on your priorities for what are the most important issues facing our community today. And that will feed right into the comprehensive planning process. And before we get to that exercise, I want to tell you a little bit about what comprehensive plans are, why they're important, how they shape our community, and how you can have a voice in how that happens. So when I leave here today, I need completed forms in this envelope. I also need a sign-in sheet so that the number of things I collect kind of match up with the number of people who are here. So be sure you have signed in. And at the end of my talk here, we'll do this exercise so you can have some say-so in how our community becomes more livable. Last fall, my boss was here, Steve Williams. He's the executive director of the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, and he did a presentation on our livable community projects, which is called Many Plans, One Community. The primary plans that initiative is focusing on are the comprehensive plan for the city of Charlottesville, the comprehensive plan for the county of Albemarle, and the long-range transportation plan. Today we're going to talk primarily about comprehensive plans, and what we want through this whole process is strategies to emerge for land use, for housing, for transportation, economic development, for dealing with our natural and cultural resources so that this is a very rich and full and livable community for people. So it's important that we listen to what people think is important, and public participation is a very key part of this whole process. And the Many Plans, One Community largely is the public participation process for these three plans. So we want to talk a little bit about what a comprehensive plan is. A comprehensive plan is a very important document, one of the foundational documents for a community, for a locality, on what their future will look like, what the jurisdiction will look like. A comprehensive plan largely talks about the physical development. It is mandated by the Virginia Code, and I want to read some of the things from the Virginia Code so you can see what it calls for in a comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan first starts and looks at existing conditions, but primarily what it wants to look at are growth trends and projecting kind of what the future will look like in the community. So here's what the code says a purpose of a comprehensive plan is: to guide the coordinated, adjusted, and harmonious development of the jurisdiction. So we're looking for harmony here. And it goes on to say that the purpose is to promote the health, safety, morals, which I thought was interesting, order, convenience, prosperity, and general welfare of the inhabitants, including the elderly and persons with disabilities, which says to me that unless you tell people that there are elderly and people with disabilities in your community, they will forget. And so that's one of the things we need to hear from you, is how important the needs are for the people you work with in shaping what our community looks like. So primarily it's going to look at kind of the physical dimension of how a community develops. So it's going to look at land use, transportation, housing. It will look somewhat at economic development, facilities like libraries, fire stations, police departments, those kinds of things, and the protection of natural and cultural resources. So it is a guidance document. It's a document that kind of sets the stage for how the community will develop. It's kind of like a strategic plan. It doesn't do anything by itself, but it lays all the foundation for what will happen. And so everything else kind of springs out of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan, when it addresses land use, it will have a land use plan that says this is where we want these future land uses to be in our community. It does not, however, change the zoning of any of those parcels. And so they may want dense residential development in a certain area, but it might not be actually zoned that way. And so a developer would still need to go through a rezoning process. It doesn't spell out how the subdivision ordinance will work, but it kind of sets the stage for it. It kind of gives those general parameters. So things like the capital improvement plan, where the county puts its money to build new libraries and those kinds of things, are shaped by the comprehensive plan, but until they're in those other documents and have resources attached to them, they don't happen. So this is a guidance document. So it looks broadly across the community, which is why it's called comprehensive. And it's a vision for the future. So it really looks ahead. Typically, the future timeline that a comprehensive plan looks like is 20 years out. And it will address these number of issues. And so this is just kind of a graphic to give you a sense of what a comprehensive plan is. So at the very center of that circle, it says community vision. And that's really what a comprehensive plan lays out. What is the vision that we have for the future of our community? And then you step out, and the next thing is our values. What are the values? What are the things that are important to us? And articulate that. It sets goals. And a lot of the things that you'll look at in the exercise are those goal areas that have been set by comprehensive plans. And it goes a step further and talks about implementation strategies. So then around the outside of this circle, you can see that there's a number of areas that a comprehensive plan addresses. So starting at the top, it says natural resources, transportation, housing, land use, facilities and services, cultural resources, and economic development. A plan will generally look at kind of physical development. It will address some economic development, which might be kind of where business is located and those kinds of things. But it might also outline some general strategies. So Doris Gelman sent me an article about Louisville, Kentucky, and they have a concerted economic development effort to recruit aging companies that focus on aging issues, so assisted living, other kinds of services. They have made that a big part of their economic development plan. So those kind of broad strategies could be addressed in a comprehensive plan. The state does require every locality to have a comprehensive plan, and it also requires a 5-year process. So it looks out 20 years, and then every 5 years you look out again, so you add the next 5 years onto your plan. The city of Charlottesville and the county of Albemarle are both at the point where they are doing this review at their 5-year point. So this was one of the reasons that we as the planning district worked with the city of Charlottesville and the county of Albemarle at this time to go after this Livable Communities grant. The long-range transportation plan also is on a 5-year update schedule, and it's in the process of being updated. And so we had all of these plans that affected the same geographic area, the urban areas basically of Charlottesville and Albemarle, that were being updated at the same time. And so the plan is for what's called the Metropolitan Planning Organization Area, which is really a portion of Albemarle County, the urbanized portions of Albemarle County, and the city of Charlottesville. And so the one community kind of provides that umbrella to look at all those plans together, to have some coordination between them, and to have a common public participation process. Now up here on the right is a box that talks about what a rewrite is and what an update is. Both the city and the county, as they approach their comprehensive plan review time of 5 years, are doing an update. And so they're not doing everything in the comprehensive plan. They're not starting at the beginning and rewriting everything in there. They're going to pick particular areas to kind of tweak. They're going to look at the existing goals and strategies. They're going to see what needs to be changed. And so it's important to provide input to the city and the county that as they do that update, where are the areas where they need to focus that limited time and attention? Because they're not going to look at everything. They have to choose areas. And so that's what we want to hear from you today. What are the areas in the comprehensive plan that you think the city and the county really need to focus their attention on? Okay, so this is the One Community project. So we have a grant. It's a 3-year grant through the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We are the grantee as the planning district, working with the Metropolitan Planning Association, doing their long-range transportation plan, and the city and the county as they do their comprehensive plans. And so this is kind of a way to bring public input together to inform all of those things. The city and the county, and this is fairly unprecedented here, have made a commitment to work together and to have some alignment between their goals, so that you can't always tell when you go from the city into the county, and so there needs to be a certain level of coordination to make sure that the community really works together, and that the things that the city is doing and the things that the county are doing are not at cross purposes, but actually work together. And so that was a pretty big commitment to get from the localities, that they're going to align the goals in their comprehensive plans. So we're working directly with the elected and appointed officials, the planning commissions, the elected bodies. We're looking to work with community organizations, and we want all of you individually to be as involved in the process and to know what's going on, so you can have a voice in this, which is what we're going to do today. Okay, so as part of the public outreach process, the One Community Project has done a series of events. We started off with a kickoff event, which was really just to announce the project back in April of last year. And then we did a series of these 6 workshops that focused on various aspects of a comprehensive plan. So looking at the environment, land use, housing, economic drivers, transportation, facilities, and historic and scenic resources. And so we went through that whole series. Each one had an array of posters talking about, presenting what the current goals were in the plan, and asking people for input on how the goals need to be changed, how implementation needed to be changed, any kinds of comments on those areas. So overall, it was a fairly successful series. The red represents the number of people who attended each event, and the blue represents the number of comments that we got at each of those events. And so overall, we had over 300 people who participated. Now, that is not an unduplicated count, because some people were there every single time, and many people were there for more than one. So the 309 is not the total number of individuals, but just the total number of attendants at each of these, of the combined 6 events. And we received over 700 comments. So we felt that was a fairly successful series. And this kind of word cloud here at the bottom is a little bit of a visual representative of some of the things that came out of those as being the important comments that we heard. And so you can see housing being big and development being big, and some other things kind of popping out. So in April, the Livable Communities team made a presentation to the Joint Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission from the City of Charlottesville, Planning Commission from the County of Albemarle met together, as they have more than once through this process, to kind of hear how this series went and to get an overview of the comments that came out of that. And in general, the comments were supportive. We got a lot of good information through that, and the planning commissions were happy to hear what those comments have been, and those comments are now in the process and being considered as part of the comprehensive plan update. But as they listened to this and saw these numbers, they said, we need to hear from more people. This is not enough. We need to take this out to the community. And so they turned to a group that we call the Livability Partnership, which is made up of various organizations who are interested in this process, to work with their groups to get input from each of the individuals in their groups at a meeting just like this, which is what we're going to do today. So the Aging in Place Business Roundtable is represented on the partnership. Elizabeth is your representative to that group. And so we did a session in April doing this very thing, doing a presentation of what we got through that series, and walking through an exercise that each of these groups could do with their membership to get input on their priorities into the comprehensive plan. And so we're here today to do that with you. So my lovely assistants now will be handing out a form, and the form looks like that on the left. It's got a list of items which basically represent the areas in the comprehensive plan that were presented at each of these 6 workshops. And then at the end of that, you can see there's a category called Other. And those are things that don't necessarily fit in the categories, but came out during the process with some of the comments that were received through this series of events. So here's what we want from you when you're done. We want you to identify the things on here that you think are the top 10 priorities for the city and the county to focus on through the comprehensive plan process. So there's a little box there to the left of each of those line items. Now you do have an opportunity in other, if you would like, if you read through the list and you think, but this isn't saying anything about an issue that you find to be really important and something that you encounter with the people that you work with, you can add it there under other, and you can include that then in your rankings. So when I did this, I found I had to kind of go through and make little check marks for myself to first get my universe of 10 things that I thought was the most important. When I first did it, I ended up with 11. I dropped the last one. And then you can rank those 10, 1 as your most important, 2 second, all the way through 10. So that when you're done, what you'll have is on this sheet, you may have some things here under other that you have added, but otherwise you're just going to have the numbers 1 through 10, which indicate then the most important area, and then 10 is still one of your top 10, but the least important of those top 10 that you have picked. So are there any questions about the instructions, Lynn? Okay, I just want to invite you to an event today, June 1st at 5:30. This is what they're calling their the one-year celebration of the Mini Plans One Community Project. It's actually been more like 15 months since we started, but we're doing this as part of kind of First Fridays. There'll be posters up, with information, a birthday cake. So feel free to stop by and kind of see what's going on. It won't take a lot of your time, but it'll give you a little bit better overview of what's going on. And the website is one-community.org, and there are ways to have input into the process. They've just revamped the website to make that interactive part more robust, and so I have not seen that yet, but that will be part of what's being unveiled tonight at the event. Thank you.